Moore and I'm one of the lead dancers and producers in A Taste of Ireland show. One of the questions that we most regularly get asked by audience members and by also fesh dancers always comes down to the use of arms in shows. So today I'm going to talk about some of the history of Irish dance and some of the different theories as to why we dance with our arms by our side, as well as some tips and tricks for how to use your arms in show dancing. Now, there are a lot of different theories as to why Irish dancers dance with their arms rigid by their side. Some say that the girls and boys used to be very tempted to want to canoodle with one another, so they were told that they had to keep their arms nice and tight by their side to stop that from happening. Another theory, which is very commonly told, is that they weren't allowed to dance in Ireland, so what they did was keep their arms nice and tight by their side, so when people walked past the windows, they couldn't even tell that they were dancing. Others say it was to stop them from drinking beer. Not sure how true that theory is, but there's many different theories that have been thrown about the place. I'll let you decide which one you think is correct. Now, when it comes to show dancing, everyone uses their arms quite differently, and it certainly has evolved since the early days of river dance. In 1994, river dance flew onto the stage in the Eurovision Song Contest and blew so many people out of the water. It really was the beginning of show dancing and Irish dancing as most of the world knows it. Since then, we've had Lord of the Dance, we've had Prodigy, we've had so many different shows, all of which have used their arms very differently. So today, I am going to share with you some top tips and tricks as to how to use your arms in shows. One thing that I think is really important, especially, well, mostly for the girls, is your fingers. So, what I would recommend is I usually take my hands and I take my third finger and I put it a little bit further than all the others. It's almost like eating a hamburger. And I often, when I'm using my arms in shows, keep the arms in this position. So we've got that third finger, which is a little bit ahead of the others, and also this fifth finger, which is ahead of the others. So I often hold my hands like this when I'm using my arms in shows. It keeps my hands nice and fluid, and it definitely helps my arms when I'm dancing in shows. Now, when I'm using my arms, I always try to have the under part of my arm moving first. So it's almost like in ballet. Quite often they do things like port de bras and they kind of move their arms like this, but the thing that is leading and the first thing to move is right under their underarm. So you move your arms up like that, and then when you drop them, the first thing to drop is also that part of your arm. This often makes the arms move really nice and smooth, and I think it definitely helps remembering that. A very popular arm movement when using your arms in shows is to place your hands on your hips. Now, something that's really important to remember when placing your arms on your hips is to make sure that your wrists aren't broken. Now, what I mean by that is making sure that the line that goes from your elbow all the way down to your fingers is nice and straight, and we don't have any breaking of that line. So, often people will put their arms up on their hips like this, and it's really important just to remember not to break those wrists. Not literally, obviously. There are definitely some things beyond the use of arms that is really, really important. Now, something that I would recommend is definitely the way that you hold yourself. It's really important that you need to make sure that you look confident when performing out to the audience, and to make sure that you're always acknowledging them, because they are here to watch you in the show and to watch the show as a whole. Something I always really try to remember doing when performing is something that people often refer to as a balcony check. Now, what I mean by that is quite regularly as a performer, we only think to perform to those right in front of us. But when we're in a theatre, there's often a lot of tears, and it's really important to make sure that we acknowledge all the different audience members that have come to the show, all over the theatre, no matter where they're sitting. Now, in order to do a balcony check, it's often important to make sure you look around the theatre and try and acknowledge everyone in the audience, whether they're in the lower tier or right up the top in the higher tier. Remembering to do these balcony checks can definitely help make sure that we are acknowledging all of the audience members in our performance. There are definitely many moments in show dancing where we're dancing with our arms loose by our sides, but it is a little bit different to competition dancing because we don't want to have them nice and tight, but instead nice and loose. Something that I find really helps me when relaxing my arms by my side is to keep the elbows nice and loose, as well as to swap arms being one in front of the other. Now, the way in which I often do this is when I'm dancing, make sure I have the opposite arm to leg, just relax nice and loose by my side. Now, when it comes to boys in show dancing, it's really important that when they're using their arms, they're nice and strong. That's all we have time for today. I'm Ceili Moore, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Stage School. At the Euro Song Vision competition. Is that what it's called?
Eurovision Song Contest. Euro Song Vision.